Morning, guys. We're starting in the pepper bed today because I can actually tell what peppers are what now. So these guys here are jalapenos, and right beside it, over here, those guys are Zulu because they get that darker color on them. They turn a purpley black color. These guys here, more jalapeno. This one over here is a yellow pepper. It's got a thick skin on it. Those ones here, I believe those are our classic orange bell peppers. And there's another one in there. So we can kind of tell what pepper is what now. And the eggplants have started to flower. So hopefully we'll be getting some eggplants. They're doing much better than the ones I ever tried to grow in Oakville on the deck in a pot. So I guess they prefer not being in a pot. Zucchini. We've been eating zucchini from these plants. I harvested a bunch last night, so I don't know that there will be any in here. But let's take a peek. There's some yellow ones back there. And some yellow ones here. It's starting to squish our lettuce heads a little bit, but that's okay. Cucumber. We've had 3 cucumbers off this plant. All have been very good. We had one yesterday. So hoping it keeps producing. It looks like a healthy plant. Oh, just missed him. There's a bee in there. Hello, bee. So he's pollinating the squash plants. I did give this guy a little sling so that he doesn't break the branch because they are hanging. And as you can imagine, squash get quite heavy. Got another one on this branch. They've gone all the way up to the ceiling, to the roof. I had to get a ladder out yesterday and knock the tops off just so that they start putting some energy into producing fruit. Butternut squash plants. We do have a nice butternut squash starting to form there. And then these plants on this side are a little bit smaller. They're like baby butternut squash plants. So hopefully we'll get some of those blooming too. Look at the flowers. Aren't they pretty? I know people say you can eat them, but I don't want to eat them. I just want to look at them. I planted some beans down below because as you can see as the squash is growing up, I go in and I chop off the bottom leaves. That is good for airflow so that you don't get powdery mildew on your squash. And it's also good for squash bug because if you can keep the plants under control, you can see squash bug if it does show up. So I'm pleased. Like there's a squash here, 1, 2, 3, potentially that one, 4. So the squash has worked. Potatoes. I did dig up some red potatoes that were just down at the end here yesterday. We'll be having them for dinner tonight. And I planted some beets. And it's finally cooled down here. It's only 21 degrees today. We've got tomatoes all up and down the row. There's tomatoes. Look at this lettuce leaf basil. I'll put my hand here for scale. Like, it's pretty much the size of my hand. They're huge. I'm going to have to start picking some of them. It's got a nice flavor, too. I like this basil. More tomatoes. They say you can give them a little shake, and that helps pollinate them. So they are getting quite tall. Now that it has cooled down, they've shot up in the last little bit. And they're all looking healthy. The wise man at Lee Valley said that if they were wilting, but there was no sign of yellow on the leaves, which there's not really any yellow on them, they were just really wilty, that it was just a lack of water. So I thought I was watering more than enough, but I have jacked up their water. And I think with the extra water and the cooler temperatures, we should be fine. Although this one, something's going on there. That could just be sunburn, actually. He still doesn't look too happy. But most of them are looking fine. Climbing bean, this is something I'm going to have to do some research on. They have flowered, but I'm not getting any beans on like every single one of my climbing beans. They look nice. That's a whole stack of them wrapped around the bamboo. But I'm not getting any beans. So I don't know if it was too hot to produce beans, or maybe they're lacking something in the soil that I need to put in to make them produce. We'll be doing some research on that. I did plant cilantro over here, but it was raging hot, so germination wasn't great. Maybe I'll throw some more seeds in there today. And I don't know why, but the squirrel keeps doing this. It like munches on the sunflower, but not all the way through. Sage and milkweed, dinosaur kale. Whatever was munching on it seems to have kind of stopped. They're not as bad as they used to be. Oh, neighbors are out. Potatoes. So all of those potatoes, these guys and those guys, the plan is to dig them up in August, beginning of August, and then replant, hopefully, beets and turnips. I've got a bunch of different types of beets and turnips, so that'll give us a fall crop. Potentially some carrots as well, but it might be getting a little late for carrots at that point. Our last frost date here is in October, they say, so you got to kind of plan things accordingly. Cabbages. Kind of starting to form little cabbagey heads in there. Yeah, see? Flowers. No beans. Have been picking beans off of these guys, though, and eating them. So these are bush beans, and they're flushing out nicely. Lots of beans on them. Lettuce, cabbage. I pulled out some of the peas and I put in another kind of climbing bean. It's a black coat runner bean. I tried to grow them along the fence. They germinated and came up, but they aren't doing great. They're not really producing. I think, again, same thing, too hot. But I'm hoping, because the plants are established, that come the fall when it cools down, they will start producing, because it is a nice big black meaty bean, good for storing, source of protein. So yeah, I was excited to grow them, but they haven't really been growing. So I've got a bunch of them down here that have germinated. Germinating during really hot weather, put your seeds twice as deep as you normally would. And as well, I had them on the shady side of the peas to try to, keep things cooler, a little microclimate down there. I threw some Swiss chard in here to germinate, where peas were. And I put some basil seeds in here. Those little leaves are not basils. That might be. But we'll have to leave it for a bit and just see what happens. Let them germinate, and then I can go in and weed it. Dill. Getting some pretty flowers. Ooh, the coriander that we let to go to seed because we want coriander seeds. Has some on there. It's falling over. I should probably see that. Those little green dots. Coriander seed. All over the plant. Oh, and a ladybug. Hello, ladybug. I got some Swiss chard in here that I planted a little bit ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And this is a pretty versatile plant. If you can get it going, it will tolerate the heat. It germinated pretty well in the heat, and they tolerate the cold. So it can handle a frost. So my plan is to get a bunch of Swiss chard in now, get it growing so that come the fall, we've got greens to be eating still. Romaine lettuce, looking nice. Still eating the ones out of the bed here. My rocket has gone to seed, but I like rocket, so I'm just going to keep it because I'm the only one who eats it. So yeah, the greens in this bed are a little out of control. I have been eating salad pretty much every day, even though it's not my husband's favorite. He likes the romaine, but he doesn't really love the other ones. Yeah, this guy's gone to seed. He's going to have to go now. Just pull him out. Stems and all. Okay. I think that's everything of noteworthy to show you. Yeah. That can of tomatoes on top of the watering thing is for bugs. It's got soapy water in it, and when I walk around and I see a cucumber beetle or a Japanese beetle, I just knock them into the can, and it seems to be effective. Like, I've gotten rid of a bunch of them. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.